Hello, my name is Edgar Lobaton. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at North Carolina State University. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the live video stream of the open house event for our department. This event will help you learn about career opportunities and the ongoing research in electrical and computer engineering, and what our department has to offer for your professional growth. Let us start with a welcome from our department head and a tour of our main building. Throughout the stream, I will provide some of the content in Spanish, and some highlights in Spanish will be provided in the chat section. Hola, mi nombre es Edgar Lobaton. Soy un profesor en el Departamento de Ingeniería Eléctrica y de Computación de la Universidad Estatal de Carolina del Norte. Es un placer darle la bienvenida a nuestra transmisión en vivo del evento de puertas abiertas de nuestro departamento. Este evento le ayudará a conocer las oportunidades de trabajo y de investigación en ingeniería eléctrica y de computación, y lo que nuestro departamento puede ofrecerle para su desarrollo profesional. Comencemos con la bienvenida del director de nuestro departamento y un recorrido por nuestro edificio principal. A lo largo de la transmisión proporcionaré algunos de los contenidos en español y se proporcionarán algunas notas en español en la sección del chat.
Good morning. My name is Dan Stansel, and as head of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at NC State, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our spring open house. I hope you will enjoy learning more about the programs, facilities, and exciting research activities in our department. I believe you would find NC State a stimulating and fun place to live and study, and I hope you will consider coming here for the next chapter of your education. Buenos días. Me llamo Dan Stansel y como director del Departamento de Ingeniería Eléctrica y de Computación, es un placer dar la bienvenida a nuestro evento de puertas abiertas de primavera. Espero que disfruten aprendiendo acerca de los programas, las instalaciones y las interesantes actividades de investigación en nuestro departamento. Creo que va a encontrar North Carolina State un lugar estimulante y divertido para vivir y estudiar, y espero que considere venir aquí para el próximo capítulo de su educación.
There we go.
Hello! Welcome to the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. In this tour, I'll show you some of the space that students have available to use and use for different projects that they have. First off, we have one half of the ECE makerspace. In this space, students can use either the soldering iron, 3D printing machines, and use wires and materials in order to do projects, either relating to classes or personal use. Everything here a student can use once they go through a 1-hour training session, as well as all the equipment in the other side of the makerspace. This is the second half of the ECE makerspace. Here we have things like a drill press, a bandsaw, and other hardware tools that students can use for projects. Before students can enter, we also ask that they use safety equipment in order to make sure that everyone stays safe. Next, we have the embedded System Lux Lab. Students, either in CE, in computer engineering, are required to take this class. And students in electrical engineering, this is an elective that they can take. In this class, students build an autonomous car that runs over Wi-Fi. Students learn hardware, software, and everything that goes into electrical and computer engineering. This is even a class that some companies look for specifically that's unique to NC State. Last off, we have the Troxer Lab, also known as Senior Design Lab. In this lab, seniors that are doing senior design can come in and either do the traditional or entrepreneurship projects. Students can come here, work, and brainstorm in their teams. And there's a lot of equipment here to use, such as soldering irons, oscilloscopes, and anything else a student may need in order to do their project. Thank you so much for following me on this tour, and we hope to see you soon. Go Pack!
So with us here, we have some students from ECE 592 Special Topics course, and we're going to let them show you a little bit on what they've been doing in class. So what is it that you guys have been doing in your class right now?
So right now we are working on a project. The project has a ground board and 2 aerial boards, and the aim of the project is to go into a construction site and autonomously navigate and create a 3D model of the entire space over there.
Great, thank you very much. How long have you guys been working on this?
So we are working on this since January, and we aim to complete it by April.
Alrighty, well, good luck in class. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go check out another student organization called Underwater Robotics at NC State. They are a student group that works to build remote-controlled and autonomous underwater vehicle, and they do compete every year in a competition. So, what is it that you guys really do in underwater robotics?
So in underwater robotics, we compete in the RoboSop competition every year. So it's a competition that happens in San Diego, where a robot has to find different objects in the water, and either it does things when it meets them, like it goes through a gate, it follows a path in the water, and does all that pre-vision processing. And there's also an acoustic pinger that it finds in the water, which locates your time different to the rival computations.
How long do you guys spend each season working on / building your robot?
More time than we want to admit. I mean, it takes all year to build a robot, so hundreds of hours, I guess. We usually spend, senior members tend to spend like 10 to 20 hours a week working on things. I mean, a bunch of other members that work on stuff, so yeah.
Are any of you guys hoping to take this any farther after college?
Yeah, so a lot of us kind of look into, I guess, like government contractors that work on all that technological robotic stuff. So yeah.
Good luck on this year's competition. Alrighty. So now we're going to head outside to check on a group called PRT at NC State. What they've been working on is an autonomous car that holds 1 to 2 people. And what they eventually want it to be able to do is to run directly from the library on Centennial Campus, James B. Hunt Library, to DHL Library on main campus instead of taking the bus system. Hey guys. Hey, do you have a minute? All right. So, what exactly are you guys doing with your project?
We are building a self-driving vehicle for the students to transit across the campus. As you see, there are 2 campuses. So our goal is to help students move across the campus with our self-driving vehicle. So we are building an autonomous system using computer vision like the camera and the LiDAR system to detect obstacles and then stop the vehicle and navigate autonomously when it sees a new one. So that's what we are.
How long have you guys been in development of this project?
4 years from now, so I have been involved here since a year, but the vehicle has been building from 4 years, and this is the second version of the vehicle. We are building a 2.5 version of the vehicle.
Do you guys have a hopeful timeline for when we might see this running around campus?
Probably a year.
It's going to be an exciting time. Oh, thank you very much. So, as you can see, this is what we call the oval. We have Engineering Building 2, which houses the ECE and Computer Science. Engineering Building 1, James B. Hunt Library is down right in front. To the left of that, we have the actual oval, which is the dining hall, in Engineering Building 3. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed your tour and seen a couple of our student organizations and see what you can get involved with here at in the Engineering College, specifically with electrical and computer engineering. Go Pack!
Next, I'll provide an overview of our department. Please follow the link below if you're interested in listening to the transmission in Spanish. A continuación voy a presentar un poco de información acerca de nuestro departamento. Siga el enlace si desea escuchar la transmisión en español. Hello everyone, my name is Edgar Lobaton and I'll be talking to you about the Electrical and Computer Engineering department. So let me first tell you a little bit about myself. So as I mentioned, my name is Edgar Lobaton. I'm actually originally from Peru, South America. I came here to the States when I was about 15 years old, finished up my high school over here, went to undergraduate in electrical engineering and mathematics at Seattle University. And then from there, after getting my bachelor's, I decided to go for a PhD, and I went to Berkeley for that, started in mathematics, and then I switched to electrical engineering. And after I got my PhD, I actually moved to North Carolina, where I got a postdoc at UNC Chapel Hill, so I was there for a couple of years. And since then, that was around 2011, I became a faculty here at North Carolina State University in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. So it's my pleasure to be here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little video that is going to give you a brief overview of what the department is about.
At NC State's Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, we are working to address major challenges facing society today. These include the challenges having to do with energy in our future and healthcare, as well as economic development and manufacturing and jobs. Good examples of that are our two National Science Foundation Engineering Research Centers and a new Power America Manufacturing Institute.
I think the NC State students that we've had in the past as interns, as well as our full-time grads, they're just very well-rounded. They have a good, strong technical background, but they bring a lot of soft skills as well.
Our technologies that we're developing are also pushing the state of the envelope. And all of these technologies, even among themselves, can really push the industry in new paradigm directions.
Well, welcome to ECE. So first, let me tell you a little bit about electricity, which is a subject matter of electrical and computer engineering, right? So first, electricity was discovered in the 17th century. And then the emphasis at that time was just to collect and manipulate charges, right? So that's what electricity, or engineering, I guess, at that point became about. First, we started with electrons, which at the time were actually a mystery. And then there was electricity, which was considered magic. So that made electrical engineers magicians. Of course, fast forward a little bit, now going into the 20th century, there were a lot of new developments in this area. At that time, it was just physics that we were talking about, and there were a number of people that actually contributed to this area. We had Alessandro Volta, Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, and Michael Faraday. Now, fast forwarding to the current time, to the present right now, there's a lot of new developments on this area, in particular on what would be considered electrical and computer engineering. So just to give you a few examples, let's talk a little bit about what we have for the power grid. So we're able to transfer or transmit electricity from one location, let's say some sort of plant, maybe a hydroelectric plant, all the way miles and thousands actually of miles away to some other location where we're able to turn on our TV. Since then, there has also been a lot of different developments. For example, first we had the discovery of, or I guess the design of a transistor, which is this electric switch that we use, which at the beginning was somewhat of a bulky design, and then we were able to miniaturize it to make it so small that we are able to now produce what we call computers, right? Since then, we have been able to develop new technology that actually make everything smaller and faster at any point. An example of that is actually what we have nowadays in our pockets, which are just our cell phones, which actually are small little computers that we walk around with. So what's the difference between science and engineering, and why do you want to study engineering? So scientists are actually trying to understand the forces of nature. They're trying to understand what nature is doing, what are all these different laws that we have present in there. Engineers, on the other hand, take that knowledge, that discovery that is done through science, and applies it to be able to enhance our life experience, to make our lives better. In particular, there's a number of challenges that engineers are looking at, are going after, and some of them include, for instance, sustainability, health, security, and also just in general, improving our way of life, so having more joy. So what's particular about ECE, or electrical and computer engineering, is that at that point, electrical and computer engineering is actually, electrical and computer engineers are problem solvers, and they actually try to solve different problems by applying these discoveries that I mentioned before, by making things efficient, fast or quick, and then less expensive. So just to give you an idea of the breadth of things that we actually work on, we can start with something as small as a computer chip, get to a satellite, work on medical devices, and also work on renewable energy. In particular, electrical engineers and computer engineers have a wide range of applications. So what we are doing is that we're taking all these different techniques, all these different tools, and we figured out how to actually design, build, and manage systems by using this knowledge that we gain. So what? Why is this actually relevant? Here's one important fact. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the demand for science and engineering workers will increase 3 times faster than any other job category this decade. And the majority of these new jobs will be in ECE. So that means that there's a big demand in terms of jobs and opportunities for ECE graduates as well. So now let's talk a little bit about the type of research that we actually do in our department. So what is it that we do in research? There's a number of different areas that we can actually focus on. Here, there's just a few that we're actually mentioning in here. For example, we have this bioelectronic engineering. We have networking, computing, signal processing, robotics, mechatronics, power systems, computer architecture, you name it. So these are just some of the things that we can actually do in terms of research. So here's just some particular keywords that are often associated with electrical engineering. So here we have, for instance, medical applications, solar panels, cars, vehicles, nanotechnology, photography, air pollution, imaging, stereo, so on and so forth. So as you can see, there's a breadth of different applications associated with electrical engineering. So what problems will you solve with an EE degree, an electrical engineering degree? So here we're going to focus a little bit more on the electrical engineering aspect of it. And as you can see, what I'm going to present to you is basically some of the examples or some of the tasks or challenges that an engineer, in particular an electrical engineer, would aim to solve. So here's one of them. Will you be able to reduce pollution by developing efficient electric cars? We actually have a center, NSF center that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, that has some of this emphasis. So we're potentially trying to make our system or our environment healthier. Will you help poor villages obtain powers for water treatment, food, and medical storage by designing durable solar cells? Right? That's potentially another important challenge. Will you bring nations closer together economically and culturally with sophisticated computer networks? So that's something that we actually experience nowadays all the time. This is basically our internet, our cloud that is happening out there that is able to connect all different nations of the world. We are able to share information, but not only that, but keeps us communicated by using different types of social media as well too. will you save people's life with medical imaging? So imaging, for instance, optics in general, and even image processing algorithms are some of the things that electrical engineers also work on. Would you make transportation safer with advanced vehicle control systems? So nowadays, for example, there has been such a big interest on autonomous vehicles. So we're talking about making our systems or our vehicles actually smarter. We're not just talking about the control aspect of it. So basically, how do we tell that system to be able to behave in a particular way? How do we set those rules? But we're also talking about how can the system, in this case our vehicle, becomes more aware about what's happening around it, right? It needs to understand that there's pedestrians, there's people in bicycles, there's other vehicles, and things are actually dynamically changing all the time, and it needs to be able to predict what is it that's going to happen at any given point. So at the end of the day, what's important is essentially what is it that excites you, right? So what is it that drives you, and what is your challenge or your particular objective to be able to become, to overcome? Now let me tell you about two particular centers that we have in terms of research. So these are the research that we do in our university. We are actually one of the few universities that has ever had two NSF research centers active at the same time. So this is one of them. It's called the Freedom Center. This one is actually dealing mostly with what is called the smart grid. So the smart grid is this collection of all these different homes, all these different units that can actually produce electricity. But these are not the standard power plants that we may be thinking of. It may be actually a collection of also some more dynamic or renewable source of energy, like solar panels or wind farms, so on and so forth, which give you electricity or power, but they actually fluctuate over time. So in order to accommodate for all these different type of fluctuations, then what needs to happen is that our power grid, our smart grid, need to be able to be efficient at determining how to route this information or this energy, and also needs to be very smart about this, of course. Then there's this other center that we have, which is called the ASIST Center. The ASIST Center deals with developing the next generation of nanotechnology-enabled devices. So by that, we mean that we're going to have small devices, wearable devices, something similar to what we have right now, for example, in our watches, that can actually monitor some of our physiological responses. Right? We may be talking about respiratory rate, heart rate, maybe some sort of indicator about some condition that we have, either heart condition, respiratory, maybe something like asthma, for instance, diabetes, you name it. But besides tracking our physiological responses, we're going to be tracking maybe something about our environment, something about what type of activities we're actually performing. And based on that, we want to be able to perform some sort of prediction or some sort of notification to an individual to warn them that maybe some sort of adverse reaction may be coming up. Right? And of course, the objective of these particular center is not only to create more devices, more sensing modalities, and put them all together in a small factor, but also to reduce the energy consumption and develop or look into energy harvesting technologies such that these devices, at the end of the day, essentially become self-powered. Now let's talk a little bit about computer engineering. For computer engineering in particular, here's just a few keywords that also arise related to this particular field. We have communications, robotics, biomedical, workstations, network, appliance, embedded systems, so on and so forth. So just to differentiate a little bit electrical engineering from computer engineering, so computer engineering is going to focus a little bit more on the hardware aspect of it, but also on the software aspect and how does the hardware and the software integrate together, right? So we're talking about computer systems, and we are also talking about maybe like smaller devices that are going to be able to do some sort of processing, and that's where the embedded systems come into place, right? So there's the hardware and the software, but also their particular integration at any given point. So that's what you focus on. Now, once again, what type of problems are you going to be able to solve with a computer engineering degree in this particular case? Here's just a few, just to name a few. Will you find a needle in the haystack of the world's vast online resources of knowledge using computer networks? So here we're thinking, for instance, of these really big computer resources that we have that often we refer as high-performance computing, sometimes supercomputers, that allow you to search through tons of data to be able to identify a particular pattern that may be useful for a particular application. And we'll see an example in a second. Will you access information anywhere, anytime, by improving portable and wireless communication? So again, here's the relevance about the internet, our social networks, and all of this. So there's this vast amount of knowledge that we have, which has become available on the cloud. We need to be able to access it at any point wirelessly and be able to have access to that information and be able to do something with that information, maybe perform some sort of computing. Here the example, for instance, with the wearable, that would mean that we need to be able to identify if there's something wrong with some of the physiological measurements that we have. Maybe we're just about to have some sort of heart condition. Also, will you build high-performance computing machines to design new drugs that fight infectious diseases? Right, so here's a particular application. Right, this is actually something that is very well. This is a particular application that we see quite often, in particular from biomedical applications, drug delivery, and also just modeling the effect of drugs and looking for new drugs. Then you need high-performance computing systems that allow you to build or identify this type of designs. And we can enable all of this work basically by using all of these computing systems that we can develop here. And finally, will you create an autonomous robot to perform repairs in hazardous environments, right? So here we're talking again on the integration of the hardware, the computing, maybe some more of an embedded platform, and also the software that needs to be robust enough to be able to work in such hazardous situations. And once again, what's more important at the end of the day is what is it that excites you, because that's how you're going to be, or that's the challenge that you're going to be pursuing at the end of the day. Okay, and we talked about some of the applications in terms of general research in the field and also some of the research that we're doing here at NC State. And just to name a few others, there's a lot of research in areas such as photonics, biomedical systems. The picture that you see there is a cyborg cockroach. So this is an actual live cockroach. It's a Madagascar cockroach with a small backpack that is attached to it and electrodes that are able to send commands to it to make it turn to the right and to the left. Right? So that's one potential application as well. And there's a number of applications related to robotics and mechatronics that you'll also see around in here. And here, for instance, there's an example of the different type of projects. These are the senior design projects that the undergraduates worked on as they were graduating. Right? So this is actually something that that all of our undergraduate graduates need to do. They actually need to work for a year on this senior design project. They're going to be either sponsored by a company or working with a particular faculty towards a particular prototype. And they're going to go through the entire phase of determining basically what are their requirements for the particular design to the point that they're actually able to build those prototypes and demo them in this senior design day. And these are some pictures of some of these events that we have here. Okay, so what about career opportunities in general? So as you can imagine, of course, somebody with an electrical and computer engineering background is going to get a job in that particular field with that particular label as an electrical engineer. And actually, starting salaries, of course, at this point, we're looking at salaries above $66,000 just to get us started. But there's also other opportunities. Somebody with an engineering degree, in particular electrical and computer engineering, can find positions in different type of areas. So here's just to name a few. So for instance, they could find a position on a business or management company, for example, or just assuming a management role. They can go, of course, into academia by pursuing higher degree. And then going into academia, they can work for or look into patent law. Of course, there's a few of them that actually go into become medical doctors as well. There's people that actually just go into politics and public policy, right? So this just opens a door for different type of fields for any individual. And in terms of recruiting efforts, our graduates actually go and find jobs in a number of different companies. Here's just a list of some of them that have actually even come over here, and sometimes they have recruiting events in our own campus, or our students, of course, they can always go and apply to some of these locations. So just wanted to share some of those companies in here as well too. Some of them, of course, they're local, for example, SAS and Red Hat, and we have some local places as well, like IBM. In terms of like the degree programs that we have two specific degree programs. One basically is a concentration on the electrical engineering aspect of it. The other one is more of the computer engineering. So these are the two degrees that we have and we've been discussing. students join our department and our degrees as sophomores, so at the beginning as freshmen. They are not directly enrolled in our program. They just enter the engineering field in general. And then after that, depending on their GPA, then they actually join our particular program. Of course, that process of switching into electrical engineering, it really depends at the end of the day a little bit depending on how many seats we have available on that particular year. But as a rule of thumb, the threshold varies, but it's somewhere in the order of 2.5 GPA as a freshman, right? So after the first year, this is the grade that they need to have. There's also the option of having a double major degree, and here's one of them. You can actually have an electrical engineering and a computer engineering degree, so it's basically having both of them as you graduate. And what's important in this particular case is that you're actually going to be taking most of the same courses either way, so you only need to take a few of them. You actually need to take 3 additional courses to be able to get both of the degrees, to get the double degree in electrical engineering and computer engineering. There's also the choice of having a double major in computer engineering and computer science. So computer science deals more with the programming aspect of things, so not so much with the hardware. And there's also the aspect, of course, of the algorithms and all of this. So to be able to have a double degree in computer engineering and computer science, which is possible, it does require some additional courses. So in this particular case, we're talking in the order of 8 additional courses, so 1 additional year, to be able to have a double degree on computer engineering and computer science. So let me give you a general overview of the type of courses that you're going to be taking during the career, either as an electrical engineer or computer engineering. So during your freshman year, there's going to be 18 credits that you need to take. Then there's these core courses, so the main courses, either in electrical engineering and computer engineering, either 41 or 50. Electives, of course, and projects around 31 or 22, depending on the specialization. And then there's the general humanities and physical education courses that you're going to have to take as an undergraduate. Those are 33 credits. So the normal full load for a student ranges a little bit, but it could be somewhere between 15 to 17 credits per semester, right? So each course is usually around 3 credits. So at the end of the day, if you graduate with an electrical engineering degree, you're going to end up with 122 credits. For a computer engineering, it's at least 122. For a double degree, you get 128, and the difference, again, 6 credits, and that's what we are talking about for a double degree. In terms of courses that you're going to be taking, here you see a little bit more of a distribution or comparison between the electrical engineering and the computer engineering degrees. So there's, of course, several things that are in common: the calculus and math courses and the basic physics, the basic computers. Some of the basic computer science courses are going to be all the same. But some of the differences, for example, is that electromagnetic field, the course on electromagnetic field is only required for the electrical engineering degree, not for the computer engineering degree. And if we're looking at something like programming, for example, the computer engineering degree requires an additional course at that point. There's digital systems as well, for instance, that is required for computer engineering, but it's not required for electrical engineering. But either way, there's always a set of elective courses that both of the degrees can actually take. So there's always a choice on what additional courses they can actually take. So here's a little bit more about the type of courses that they will be taking. Just to mention, I guess, a few things here. In particular, I guess the last line, we have the senior design project. Again, this is a course that both degrees are going to have to take. It's a year-long senior design project that they're going to be working on. That's actually relatively unique to our department. Not everyone does that. Of course, there's a lot of other universities that do that as well too. But instead of having just one single semester, we're looking at an entire year. So that gives them a lot more time to actually think about their designs, about their particular project, really develop some strategies, try something, and then actually, if that doesn't work, then iterate over and over again. And they get a lot of guidance from their instructors as to how what they need to watch out for as they're going through this particular process. Here's some more of the humanities and physical education courses that they need to take. So humanities, the big chunk, for example, is in courses related to humanities and social sciences. We're talking about 20 credits at that point. So there's also another option, right? So now we're talking more into grad school, right? So once an individual is finishing up their bachelor's degree, they actually have a choice for either pursuing a master's and then a PhD or go directly for a PhD. Here we actually have an option for an accelerated master's. Usually a master's takes 2 years, but for the special accelerated program that we have, it would only take 1 year. And the way how that works is that some of the electives, basically up to 4 courses on the electives from the electrical engineering or computer science or computer engineering degrees can actually count towards both degrees, the bachelor's as well as the master's degree. So that's something that they can take advantage of. And because of that, again, it would just be only 1 additional year to be able to graduate with a master's degree. And now what's the benefit of doing that? If we're looking in terms of salary, there's usually at least a $10,000 difference. So if we're looking at around $66,000 for a bachelor's degree, then we're talking in the order of almost $80,000 for a master's degree. So that's definitely something to consider. And it's only if you apply yourself and you're actually looking for this particular option, it's only an additional year of education at that point. Of course, as I mentioned, there's also other graduate program options, and one of them, besides the master's, is a PhD, so the doctorate degree. We have options on computer engineering as well as electrical engineering for the PhDs, and also we have an additional option on the master's for computer networking. In our graduate program, we have over 800 graduate students. All of our faculty, well, a lot of our faculty are award-winning faculty, which gives them access to top problems and research problems that they're actually working on. These faculty also bring over $10 million in research funding each year. And that offers, of course, a lot of opportunities for people doing research, but also even for undergraduates to participate on this type of research, which is something that we also see within our university. And hope that was actually useful and you get an idea of what engineering and electrical engineering and computer engineering is actually about and what actually our department has to offer for you. Thank you. Next, we'll have a panel of engineers that will discuss career opportunities in electrical and computer engineering. A continuación tendremos un panel de profesionales que van a discutir oportunidades para ingenieros eléctricos y de computación.
Today. I drove this time, but I've been flying the past few times. But I was in a wedding last Saturday. So
Oh.
Been doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, no, usually I'll fly.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, they're gonna fly. I was like, yeah, but I can fly. Yeah.
It's way easier to fly.
So I'm not looking forward to the drive back. Get additional waters. I have no waters.
Oh, thank you very much.
You need another one.
The number of times where I've been getting ready to fly home, from DC, get a notification that the flight's delayed, and just keep my rental car and just keep on driving. So that's a good thing about it. You got some flexibility.
Yeah, my parents are still there, so I like that opportunity.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Is there anything you need from me otherwise, other than to talk around? Yep. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that before.
I felt like I could read the bed number on the part.
It's miserable.
And if you get your exit,
Oh, you're done. It's miserable. So much people told me to be made about that. But I'll like have time to point out. I know I have to leave a certain time in the morning. I'll leave beforehand. And like I even saw a billboard probably 2 years ago, like give us ideas of how to fix traffic. And I'm like, it's people don't know how to merge. I've determined like people just don't know how to merge in lanes and system look, stop, text.
About the kind of lack of the metro not being in as good a shape as it needs to
Yep,
be.
that too.
It's not useful. The fact that it keeps breaking down as much as it has.
Past year was really bad. I was on a couple of trains.
Such a shame because it's always like a made DC approachable in some respects. What's that? We clearly need some more engineers on the HVAC side of the system to get better control. We got a control system problem.
I think we might have a few people that join us, but we'll go ahead and get started here. Got a short video for you.
At NC State's Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, we are working to address major challenges facing society today. These include the challenges having to do with energy in our future and healthcare, as well as economic development and manufacturing and jobs. Good examples of that are our two National Science Foundation Engineering Research Centers and the new Power America Manufacturing Institute.
Our technologies that we're developing are also pushing the state of the envelope, and all of these technologies, even among themselves, can really push the industry in new paradigm directions.
I think the NC State students that we've had in the past as interns, as well as our full-time grads, they're just very well-rounded. You know, they have a good, strong technical background, but they bring a lot of soft skills as well.
Cisco is huge on innovation, so we're definitely looking for students that can think outside the box. Certainly do an intern if you can, that's always helpful.
You know, at Key Tech, we really look for people who are passionate and technical people, and we love people who like to tinker, but we all like being creative.
Somebody would want to come work in avionics would want to really focus on their troubleshooting skills, and being able to follow through each individual step and come to a solution is a really good skill to have.
What we're finding recruiting here at State, a lot of students have great project experience, both working in classes, student groups, kind of extracurricular activities. I've been pretty impressed with the kind of depth and breadth of experience that the students are showcasing on their resumes.
Good morning and welcome to NC State University and the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. My name is Trudy Brown and I serve as the Director of External Relations for the department, and thank you all for being with us this morning. In planning our engineering open house, we felt it was important not only to showcase our electrical and computer engineering faculty, staff, and students, but also our really fantastic corporate partners. And I'm thrilled to have three outstanding representatives with us today from Cisco Systems, Duke Energy Progress, and IBM. I'd like to introduce Anthony Greco right here to my right. He is the Senior Director of the Security and Trust Organization at Cisco Systems. He's responsible for Cisco's strategy to provide security and trust to countries as they look to digitize key industries and the government. He received his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and his Master of Science degree in Electrical Engineering here from NC State. On the end, Sammy Roberts serves as the Director of Systems Operations for Duke Energy Progress and is responsible for providing strategic direction for the BA TOP operations and planning. Sammy received his Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Electrical Engineering here from NC State University. University, as well as his Master of Business Administration from NC State School College of Management, which is my school. We are also joined last but not least by Jasmine Jarvis, who serves as the Talent Acquisition Partner for IBM Global Business Services Public Sector. She is responsible for the entire recruitment process for entry-level technical consulting candidates for IBM's Leadership Development Program, Consulting by Degrees. Jasmine received her Bachelor of Science degree in both Electrical and Computer Engineering from NC State and her Master of Business Administration from the University of Maryland. We have a great panel of Wolfpackers here, and we appreciate them being with us today. Anthony, let's get started with you, and then we'll have Sammy and Jasmine to answer as well. Briefly, tell us about your company and or your division.
Yeah, so Cisco, who's heard of Cisco here? Anybody? Oh, awesome, excellent. So you'll know that if you're using the internet today, there's almost an assurance that you're using underlying technology that's been made by Cisco Systems. So we provide internet technologies that are really the foundation of how the world is continually connecting things and exchanging information. We think a lot about how do we provide those communications capabilities, whether it's to your car through OnStar or to your home and many other different ways. My specific area at Cisco, and in fact what I spend all my time on, is the cybersecurity problem that comes along with the challenge of connecting everyone. And so really appreciate the fact that we're able to be here. Just so you know, Cisco is 120,000 employees in about 100 different countries around the world. We have about 8,000 employees here in Research Triangle Park, and really enjoy the environment and area here.
Great. Jasmine, would you like to comment, please?
Sure. My name's Jasmine. I'm from IBM. Most of you know IBM sells computers. We don't anymore. We sell services and we sell our people. So I am in our consulting arm, and basically what I do is federal government consulting. So when you think of the Navy, when you think of the Army, a lot of the problems and issues they have, whether it's technical, whether it's strategy, whether it's supply chain, whether it's education, we go in and we help them solve those problems. So we have a public sector from a federal government perspective. We also have commercial, which is more of our private companies. So when you think of Nike, when you think of the Atlanta Falcons, when you think of Macy's, we have projects and client engagements with them. So IBM has been around for a long time. We're trying to get our cool back a little bit, but we do a lot of different things from research to procurement to sales. So I always say IBM is the company for you if you're not really sure what you want to do. That was me. But we have a lot of different opportunities, and we are very excited to be here.
Great. And Sammy?
How many of you have heard of Duke Energy? So Duke Energy is a Fortune 125 company, and I didn't know Cisco had that many employees. We only have about 29,000 employees, and we serve gas and electric customers in 7 states, in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. We have about 7.5 million electric customers and 1.6 million gas customers with our acquisition of Piedmont Natural Gas recently. How many of you know in the ranking of states for installed solar where North Carolina is? I guess we're second. We're second only behind California in installed solar capacity, and we have projections to add even more with the recent North Carolina legislation. We're going to add about 5,000 more megawatts of solar in North Carolina. We'll be adding some in South Carolina, and we have other legislation or agreements in Florida to add about 700 megawatts of solar there. So we're going in solar. That's one of the big changing areas with respect to the power industry, especially for Duke Energy, and it's an exciting changing area. So that's a little bit about Duke Energy.
Great. Well, talking about excitement here, why don't you, Sammy, kick us off with telling us why it's a great time to be in electrical and computer engineering?
I think I mentioned it last session, but change. There's a lot of change going on associated with electrical and computer engineering. Anthony can tell you all about cybersecurity and routers and so forth with Cisco. A lot of change in that area. A lot of change with our energy management system we use in my business. We use some of his Cisco routers with respect to guarding our stations and infrastructure from cyber attack. So there's a lot of change going on. I mentioned solar, a lot of integration of solar. We're having to look at different ways to manage that integration because it is a variable energy resource, and so you have to manage the ups and downs clouds coming over and days when you have a little bit more cloud cover than others. And so that requires us to be able to send through telemetry signals to the inverters at the solar farms and be able to move those down if we got too much solar, and we even look at ways of keeping it at a certain level and bringing it up if we need some frequency response, for example. So a lot of change, a lot of need for electrical engineers associated with that change.
Great. Anthony, would you like to talk about electrical and computer engineering as being an exciting place to be?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that is transformational relative to the ECE field in particular is the breadth of opportunity and need for the capabilities and how many different industries that you don't think about every day are really looking for these types of skills. Back when I graduated, there was a handful of companies really that were targeting ECE graduates, Cisco, IBM, Power, entities like Duke. Those were the ones that were really kind of the core targets for graduates in the ECE department. Indeed, they still are from many different perspectives. But the exciting thing for me in the ECE field is every business today is looking to take advantage of digital technologies in their business. Whether you're a water pump manufacturer, or I was just in Estonia a few months ago, and the ability of them to use technology to digitize their government identities, all of the systems that need to be brought together, all really is foundational to where every business is going. The use of technology is increasing and going across every business in a way that is really transforming those businesses. And the skills and capabilities that ECE degree in general provides to students is going to make the opportunities that come along with those skills to be much more pervasive than just looking at the companies that are here, but it'll be across every different type of industry and every different type of place. So that to me is the really exciting thing about being an ECE today, is the applicability across industries, even that you haven't even thought about as being traditional opportunities for ECE graduates and skills.
Great. Jasmine, would you like to comment please about being in the ECE space as a graduate?
Sure, Anthony hit it on the head. Talent, you are in high demand. I'm in talent acquisition, so I can tell you we are looking for electrical and computer engineers. When I started back at IBM about 5 years ago, I was probably one of 3 engineers in our consulting arm, so it's kind of by myself. Our business has realized that it is important to have engineers, especially computer and electrical, because you're trained to think differently. You know how to work on a team. You also understand the capabilities of technology. And having that double threat of being able to work with people as well as knowing technology is so important. Another thing that is really important that you get from being an electrical and computer engineer is those soft skills. You probably don't think about soft skills, but NC State does provide you with that, and sometimes those are a little more crucial than technical skills, because at the end of the day, we want you to be able to engage with clients, engage with people. So it's really important to have that tech side, but then also be able to work on a team, which is really kind of what the program is about from an engineering perspective.
Great. Jasmine, I'm going to stay with you. If you would talk a little bit about those characteristics of that talent pool and why you're recruiting from NC State specifically.
Sure, absolutely. So talents and qualities we look for are definitely flexibility. If you don't like being uncomfortable, IBM's probably not the place for you. I always say growth comes from being uncomfortable. So being able to adapt, being able to work with different types of people, wanting to solve problems, being innovative, not being afraid to speak up are huge. And why NC State particularly? NC State has well-rounded students. At the end of the day, when I'm looking at resumes and I have someone that's really technical, but I can't see people skills or can't see relatability, and I see someone who might not have the strongest GPA but has that technical background and can get involved with other types of people, I want that person, because I want to put that person around other people that can work together. So NC State definitely makes their students well-rounded and able to do different things. So consulting definitely wasn't what I thought I was going to get into graduating. I actually thought it was going to be a program and realized halfway through that's not what I wanted to do. But IBM, accepted me because I was able to, sell myself as well as get along with different types of people.
Sammy, would you talk some about the characteristics that you're recruiting from in your talent pool and specifically from NC State?
Yes. So maybe not as much of a adventure, innovative type approach as Jasmine mentioned, but we're looking for some innovation, but also the operational discipline piece associated with applying that innovation. And the reason I mentioned the operational discipline piece is because we are in the business of serving our customers with electric and gas service, and so they don't tolerate interruptions too well. So we want to make sure that continuity of service stays high. So Doesn't work out too well. We also promote adaptability. We're high on having an inclusive work environment. We're also high on team environment as well. So some of the same things that Jasmine mentioned, we're looking for those attributes as well.
Anthony, can you talk about some of the characteristics in the talent pool?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we look for strong technical foundations, and that's I think a given as a part of when you're in those technical fields. But the characteristics above and beyond, and I think the things that make NC State stand out, is a collaborative nature. I mean, we work in global teams in many cases, working with folks both that are local as well as remote. So the ability to work, communicate, collaborate, and aim towards teamwork, but also get things done is vitally important, and a skill set that we look for and see a lot of coming out of NC State. Just to give you some context, when Cisco recruits, so Cisco is a Silicon Valley headquartered company, right? We were started out in Silicon Valley, which is in the San Jose area, for those that don't know, in California, about 30 years ago, by some professors from Stanford. Yet, for the past 15 years, NC State has been the #1 university that Cisco has recruited from. We get the most candidates that come to Cisco for full-time employment from NC State. And one of the key reasons, especially for those that come from the ECE and the technical background, is because of the innovation that we see coming out, the teamwork, the collaboration that go along with that strong kind of foundational capabilities of technical acumen that comes from the NC State programs.
Anthony, I know company culture is real important at Cisco, and could you talk a little bit about some of the personal qualities and passions you're finding in the interns or the full-times or the co-op hires that are coming to Cisco?
Yeah, I think the thing that we look for and the thing that excites us a lot about the candidates that we see from NC State is there tends to be a well-roundedness to the candidates that really speak to them, not just as somebody who knows something from a technical perspective, but the person itself. So we see folks that come to us from NC State as being people who are very passionate about something. We had an intern that came into Cisco the last summer through our intern program that had taken a ton of his own personal time to do some innovation in open source software with a number of other people, building a piece of software that was fundamentally helping charities, right? That was a really important set of things that we saw in that candidate, not just, again, the technical acumen, but had a higher calling, a higher passion for something else. And that's something, again, that we see quite a bit out of the students that come from NC State, and something that really meshes well with our culture of giving back, being a part of the community, and doing something more than the specific job day in and day out.
Jasmine, would you like to talk about some of those personal qualities and passions that you're looking for with IBM?
Yeah, for sure. Our relatability is huge. So being able to relate to our clients, being able to relate to people we work with is huge. Integrity too. So we're an honest company. We want people that have integrity, that are passionate about things, that are also able to be honest of, hey, we think this might not work. Another thing I didn't mention in the last panel is leadership capabilities. It's so huge. So being able to lead, getting involved. NC State has a lot of opportunities to do student organizations, be involved and lead at ECE, and we're looking for those people that have the projection of leadership because we want those types of students in our company and organization. Another thing that I would say is being able to work with people and be down to earth. That's a huge, huge thing because at the end of the day, you got to be able to work with people. You have to engage in any industry or any company. So we're looking for students that are well-rounded, like Anthony said, and that can be relatable to just about anyone.
Sammy, would you like to comment about some of those passions and personal qualities that you're looking for Duke Energy?
Yeah, I think a big one that we look for and that we see in NC State students is a high desire for continuous learning and always wanting to go that extra step to learn the most about what they can about the problem that they're solving. Also looking to pursue higher education, just a strong desire for continuous learning is one of the pieces that we value highly.
Great. Sammy, I'll stay with you. If you want to talk a little bit about the company's recruitment process at NC State and the engagement opportunities, whether it's internship, co-op, and then when is that starting? These are a room of prospective students that we're talking about here. Is it freshman, sophomore? What years that we're talking about engagement with what you're doing with the students?
So we have quite a large amount of students, mainly NC State students, that apply for our internships in the Raleigh area. And so we really are kind of pushed into limiting, unless it really put for internships and co-ops. I was an intern for Carolina Power Light Company back in the day. I graduated in '87, and internships are a big deal in our company. Still, going up through Duke Energy, and we hire most of the interns and co-ops that we bring in to Duke Energy. With respect to full-time, I'll mention again, aging demographics. I think every industry is facing that, and so we're going to be hiring quite a few people going forward over the next few years to deal with the retirements we're seeing coming up.
Okay, great. Jasmine, would you like to talk about engagement opportunities with your internships and full-time hires?
Yeah, sure. So we obviously have internships. Like Sandy mentioned, most of them are juniors, seniors, but one thing that our consulting arm is doing is an early identification program. So that's mainly for freshmen and sophomores, so you guys next year, this year. And the thought is, a lot of times you might have an idea of what you want to do, but you're not really sure. And so I always encourage the students that I meet, try all the internships that you possibly can, because when you get full-time, it's a little hard to change a job at the last second. So test, intern. So from an IBM perspective, we do have the RTP office. I'm actually out of the DC office, but I know we do have co-ops, we do have internships, we do have full-time, and we're looking for students from all different ranges and classes.
Anthony?
Yeah, so I think for us, the number of ways that we engage and interact with the students varies in levels of formality and how much commitment there is from the students. So you'll see us around campus, right? We're participating in workshops and forums, giving talks, and really just trying to make ourselves available in any number of different environments, sponsoring different things, movies on the lawn and those sorts of things, where we have employees that are out, where you just figure out a little bit about the company and understand a little bit about the company. And then more formally, we have really rich intern programs, starting as early as freshman years, but obviously accelerating in density of number of students, get the more senior, junior, and senior levels. But we certainly do have a number of internship opportunities for freshmen and sophomores. And then finally, many of the folks that we have go through those programs end up getting full-time offers as a part of that. And I think, when I think about Cisco and our global locations, it's important to know we have just as many NC State students that go out to California or many other places. So it's opportunities when it comes to both internships as well as that full-time employment aren't just local here. There's actually a bunch of those opportunities that extend well beyond. So we recruit at NC State and across all of those different areas, internships and full-time employees, not just for local jobs, but also for global jobs.
So we have a room full of prospective students and their families. Tell us, Anthony, why should these students choose to come to NC State?
There's some really unique things that I think you'll see here at NC State versus other places that I think are worth calling out. As a graduate here, I'll tell you the connective tissue that I feel like I have with the professors that are still here is really, it makes it almost like family for me. I think one of the things that NC State does a tremendous job of, and I've seen a bunch of different universities around the globe that don't do this nearly as well, is they stay connected to industry. I think it's a nod to NC State and the ECE department that they offer the opportunity for us to come and speak with you here today. But you need to understand that that's a deeper reflection of their commitment to the industry itself. So I'm on the advisory board for Cisco to help shape the curricula of what is going to be taught in future generations of ECE students here at NC State. And that's that partnership between industry and academia that really helps shape the problems that need to be solved, the types of skills that need to be brought to the workforce, and how industry and academia can work together. That to me is something that it really makes NC State stand out. It's not just a program where you come and learn something. It's a program that you're learning something that's been collaboratively identified as important between academia and industry, and really sets you up as a prospective student to be someone who's going to be successful and have opportunities in industry going forward.
Jasmine, why should these prospective students choose NC State?
Definitely the brand. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm from DC, and everyone's always like, where are you from? Where did you go to school? And I always say NC State with excitement. They're like, oh, that's a really good engineering program. Yeah, it's tough. So I like to tell students and parents as well, the things that your students will learn in our ECE program are so applicable and so relatable to how it is in the real world. So for instance, team projects, being able to do multiple things at one time, being able to present well, those are all relatable traits in the full-time. So when I got to the full-time space, I was like, I've been doing this for so long, it comes easy to me. Everyone's like, you're really good at it. I'm like, easy, made difficult, students. Everyone hates group projects. I hated group projects, but in the real world, you're going to have those conflicts. You're going to have those difficult people you have to work with, and learning those skills early helps you be adaptable and helps you be able to do it from a full-time perspective. So the skills that you learn, the curriculum, the faculty is awesome. They've just been really, really great. It's been really helpful to me. So I went into a full-time position feeling very confident because I already knew what it looked like because I had did it in the undergrad space.
Sammy, why should these prospective students choose NC State?
Yeah, so as you're here at the open house today, just look around you. None of this was here when I graduated. NC State cares about engineering students and electrical engineering students. I mean, look at what they built. Industry cares, businesses care. Look at the integration of businesses and industries just in this little Centennial campus here. It's huge. Alumni care. The Engineering Foundation, it's just gone through the roof with respect to funding, continues to increase. So there's a lot of things going for every electrical engineering student that attends NC State University, but it's mainly the faculty and staff. They care about you. They're doing the best. They're putting forth their best efforts for you with respect to getting industry involved, keeping alumni involved. The alumni that participate in the programs here, like Anthony mentioned, he participates with respect to helping shape curricula. And then I also participate, Duke Energy participates. We're a sponsor with respect to the Freedom Center and the innovation going on over there. And then also the collaborative partnerships with businesses and industry. The corporate partnerships is huge as well. So those three things, faculty and staff, alumni, and corporate involvement associated with your degree you will get here from NC State are huge. And as Jasmine mentioned, the brand is just increasing in value like crazy.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for our corporate panel today, and I know many of you are trying to make other sessions. If you have not attended an ECE departmental information session from one of our faculty, the next one we will have is at 12, so in about 30 minutes, and it's going to be downstairs on the first floor in room 1021. So thank you, and let's give our panel a round of applause. They'll be hanging around for a few minutes if you all have any questions for them.
Hi, how are you doing?
Next, we'll have a panel of engineers that will discuss career opportunities in electrical and computer engineering. A continuación tendremos un panel de profesionales que van a discutir oportunidades para ingenieros eléctricos y de computación.
All right, we hope you guys have enjoyed our Corporate Opportunities Career Panel, and we're going to head across the hall to check out a couple of our higher level research groups that we have at NC State. So This is our Active Robotic Sensing, or AROS laboratory. They partner with a couple other groups on campus, but mostly what they're working towards are wearable technology. And here's one of the students who's going to tell us a little bit more about the group and what they are working on.
All right. Good morning. So I'm Rafael. I'm working under the Active Robotic Sensing Lab, and I'm responsible for the wearables project that is developed with the Assist Center. And in this project, we were interested on monitoring physiological signals from an individual, and the main motivation was, what if we can monitor the physiological signals from an individual remotely? So let's say that a person is under a medical treatment and she has to go often to a doctor or to a lab, when we actually want the person to stay at home resting and recovering from some problem that she has. So monitoring the signals and actually seeing the situation of this person remotely becomes fairly attractive. So in order to get there, we developed a system that we had some sensors that are attached to the person. And for example, the Assist Center developed this T-shirt where she had the sensors here, and with some circuitry also to collect data. We were collecting the signals, sending to a smartphone aggregator that is pretty much an app that is collecting the data and doing some processing before sending to the cloud, where in the cloud an expert can access it and say if the heart rate is going well, if the breathing rate is going well, for example. And just to give you more motivation about how important is monitoring the physiological signals from a person, we have here two examples from heart rate signals collected from those sensors. So here is the heart rate signal collected from wet sensors. They're like these sensors here, and this is collected from the T-shirt. And one of the challenges that we have to deal with when we're doing that is, for example, cleaning up the noise that is associated with the measurement in order to provide accurate information. But before doing that, we have to collect the data from the sensors that the person is wearing. So in this experiment, we were collecting not only the signals from the heart rate, but we were also collecting the signals from inertial sensor units, because we were also interested in monitoring the motion associated with the person, so that we can tell if the person is running, walking, or any other activity that the person is doing. So in this slide here, for example, we have a prediction that we are able to do from the collected signals that we can predict, for example, in a window of 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds, how the breathing rate of the person will be, only based on the heart signals that are collected from, for example, this type of device. And another capability that we have is like emotion recognition. So from the facial expressions and the physiological signals, we can predict if they correlate. So we can tell if the person is faking some pain, or if the person is faking some emotion or some feeling that her body is actually expressing. So that's pretty much it from the wearables part. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our Integrated Bionic Microsystems Laboratory, or Bionics Lab. And what they're working on here is integrating circuit technology with biological systems. So if you would like to tell us a little bit about what your lab is doing and how it's going.
Yes, we're called the Bionics Lab. We focus on bridging the gap between electronic systems and biological systems. We use all kinds of biological systems, going from plants, cockroaches, moths, dogs, lemurs, humans. The flagship project is the Cockroach project. So in this project, what we're trying to do is to remotely control the cockroaches through sending them signals through their antennas. So you can think of this project as a way of trying to find out a biological system that can help us. Throughout centuries, we've been trying to find biological systems that could help us. Horses are one of them. We pull their heads to one side with this one. We're just stimulating a natural signal. Do you want to talk about the application for this?
So the big picture of this would be search and rescue. So ideally what we'd be doing is setting out a swarm of them, just not one. And during a natural disaster, we would have like an earthquake. You could send out many of them that would create a mesh of networks that would send signals to each other and would allow us to hone in on one person, and that would send back signals to the rescuers, which instead of like, right now what we have is rescuers going in like pulling away rubble randomly pretty much, and instead of that you could have cockroaches sending the signals back so you can like help the rescuers look for the person.
Just like the backpacks that I showed you over here, these backpacks, we have special developed backpacks that contain microphones. Some of them you can see over here. So these over here contain microphones. These have inertial measurement units so that we can map out the environment. And I'm pretty sure you were at the other lab stand over there, which makes use of these backpacks, the signals, and then tries to find out the locomotion of these cockroaches and where they're actually going.
What's great about this lab is that we also collaborate with the College of Textiles, and what we're trying to do right now, as the heading on the poster says, we're trying to do textile-based sensors. And what we have a sensor that measures blood oxygen level, heart rate, and wetness. And ideally, these would be put on a garment and be able to measure all these instead of having like a wristband that would measure your heart rate, as well as being connected to a device. And this, in the big picture, would be used for rehab or athletes, and would make life a lot simpler.
And in between those two, humans and cockroaches, we have projects with dogs, lemurs. With lemurs, this is a very interesting one. We developed these capsules to be able to sense what they're going through in the hibernation state, so that we can replicate that hibernation state on humans, which are also hibernates just like lemurs, for deep space travel. So this is another really exciting project that we're working on along with the other ones. Yep.
Alrighty. Thank you guys. Alrighty. And lastly, we have a representative from our Nano department. If you would like to tell us who you are and what you do with your department, and show us a little bit of what you have.
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Phil Barletta. I'm the director of the NNF, the NCSU Nano Fabrication facility. In our facility, we basically have the tools and expertise and capabilities to fabricate just about any electronic device you could think of. Anything that goes into your computer, into your laptop, into your cell phone, into your gaming system, into your tablet, whatever. We have the tools on hand to make that device a reality. Because NC State is an R1 university, we have a faculty full of researchers who are very, very interested in working with companies and with the government with these grants to get things done. And basically, we like to help them with our tools in order to manufacture what they need.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right. We hope you guys enjoyed that little tour of the high-level research programs that we have going on, and can see a little bit of the research opportunities that you could potentially get involved with your time here at NC State. We hope you guys also enjoyed the rest of the tour, and go Wolfpack!
Finally, we'll have a live session in Spanish to answer any questions about our department and the engineering career. Finalmente tendremos una sesión en vivo para responder cualquier pregunta que usted tenga acerca de nuestro departamento y la carrera de ingeniería. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching our video stream. At this point, we're going to answer some questions, any questions, maybe in Spanish or English that you guys may have. Si tienen alguna pregunta en español o en inglés, por favor, escríbanla ahora en la área del chat y voy a tratar de responderlas. Y si es que no la puedo responder en este momento, vamos a tratar de poner algunas respuestas en la área de comentarios durante los próximos días también. Vamos a esperar por unos cuantos momentos mientras escriben sus preguntas, si es que tienen alguna en general. Ojalá que hayan tenido una buena idea del tipo de investigaciones, el tipo de clases que tenemos aquí en el departamento. Ya saben que tenemos estas dos carreras en particular, o títulos que se pueden dar, el de ingeniería eléctrica y de ingeniería de computación, diferentes tipos de investigaciones que tenemos en las áreas de robótica, comunicaciones, en las áreas de sistema de redes, por supuesto, también. Y hay bastantes oportunidades, por supuesto, para nuestros estudiantes de bachillerato para que puedan trabajar en las áreas de investigación si es que están interesados. Some of the things that I wanted to highlight again were based on our information session from the department. Besides the bachelor's degrees that we have in those two titles, in electrical and computer engineering, you also have the options for the master's degree, right? And there's an accelerated program. So you guys can always sign up for that as well. If you do the accelerated option, then you can actually finish it up within a year. So you don't have to waste too much time at that point. I guess if we don't have any additional questions, then again, thank you very much, everyone, for participating. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon, and have a good one. Bye.